I bet you guys have never seen a healthy chicken Alfredo before, and I know you're gonna love my version. I'm Justin from Cooking with Coit. I specialize in clean comfort cooking. And remember, if you love this recipe, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Let's get started. Let's first go over all the ingredients you need to make this recipe. Chicken breast, zucchini, sour cream, paprika, garlic powder, garlic, and salt and pepper. And the one piece of special cooking equipment you're gonna need for this recipe is a spiralizer. All right guys, so the first thing we're gonna do for this recipe is to cut our chicken breast into thin strips. As you work to the thicker pieces of the chicken breast, what you're gonna find is that the pieces get quite long. So for any pieces that feel just a little bit too long, like I want these strips to feel a little more bite-sized, I'm just gonna cut the longest strips in half. Next, we're gonna season our chicken. So if you want, you can take these pieces and put it into a small mixing bowl. If that makes your life easier, I've already dirtied up this cutting board. So I'm just gonna leave the pieces here and just season it right here, but you can do it however you want to. So let's first start with 1 teaspoon of paprika. I wanna make sure to sprinkle the seasoning across all of the pieces. Next, we're gonna add a half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And for the salt and pepper, just do it to taste, however much or little that you want. I like to do a couple big pinches of salt, just because I like my food kind of salty, and about half the amount for the pepper. Now I'm just gonna mix it all up together on the cutting board. Next, we need to prepare the zucchini for the spiralizer. All you have to do is just trim off both ends, just like this. All right, so before we do the spiralizing, I first wanna talk about zucchini selection. What I look for when I go to the grocery store are zucchinis that are as perfectly straight as I can find them. Now this isn't totally crucial. You can put a slightly curved zucchini in the spiralizer, but your life is gonna be so much easier if you can find ones that have as little curve as possible. So this is like a really good example. It's almost perfectly straight. So let's talk about the spiralizer for a second. So I bought this spiralizer on Amazon. It's probably 30 bucks, I think. So it's actually pretty cheap and I love using it. So the reason why we use a spiralizer is because you can make noodles out of vegetables. So the way that you use it is you grab one of your pre-cut zucchinis and you line up this little piece here as close to the center as possible. And you push it in, and then these little spikes here grab the other end. And I take my right hand here just for a second, just to stabilize it. Then all you have to do is just crank. I crank in a clockwise motion, although I don't think that matters really either. And then out come these zucchini noodles, and they're just awesome. What I love about it is that you get these noodles which are reminiscent of spaghetti, but you're doing it all with plants, so it's way healthier. And when you're done spiralizing, this is what you should be left with. All right guys, so now it has come time to cook our chicken. So just take a little bit of olive oil, a tablespoon if you want, put it into a pan. And the heat I have here is probably like a medium heat. I'm gonna let this olive oil heat up before I add the chicken. All right, let's add the chicken to the pan. We're gonna cook these chicken pieces for anywhere between 3 and 5 minutes on both sides. But of course, you guys have to remember that the timing that I always give you is so dependent on the thickness of the meat that you're cooking. So for this chicken, I cut the strips quite thin, so 3 to 5 minutes is all it's gonna need. If you cut your strips thicker, just imagine that you're gonna need to add a little bit of extra time. The best way to know when chicken is done is to use your instant read digital thermometer. If you don't have one, I highly, highly suggest you go buy one on Amazon, and that will tell you exactly what the internal temperature of the chicken is. We wanna make sure that the internal temperature of the chicken reaches 165 degrees Fahrenheit, and then you know it's done. All right guys, so I think they're ready to be flipped, so let's just flip them over. And what you're gonna see is some nice browning on the bottom side. You're also gonna see that the spices are forming a really nice crust, even on these very small pieces. And that is so important because for 2 reasons, really. Number one, it's gonna give you a nice little bit of crunch on the outside, but it's also gonna give you so much great flavor every time you take a bite of these chicken pieces. So let's just get them all flipped over here. And they are looking really beautiful and the smell is amazing. If you guys have a go-to chicken seasoning that you really love, would you please let me know in the comments below, because I'm always open to finding new ones that I haven't tried before. All right, these chicken pieces are ready to be taken off the heat, so I'm gonna add them just to a little plate that I have on here on the side and let them rest. All right guys, so I've set the chicken pieces aside for right now. I've brought in my zucchini noodles, and all you have to do is literally drop these zucchini noodles straight into the same pan that you are cooking the chicken in. And the advantage of that is that we're gonna get all of that flavor from the leftover little kind of chicken fat in there and the oil and some of the seasoning, and that's gonna infuse into these zucchini noodles. So try not to wipe out the pan. Really, we wanna use the flavor that's sitting in this pan moving forward. If you feel like you're seeing some charry bits on the pan, okay, you can kind of take those out because you don't want those to go in the noodles, but otherwise, leave it alone. So let's add our zucchini noodles, and they do get quite long, as you can see. There we go. And keep in mind too, this might feel like a lot of zucchini noodles for 2 people, but they cook down quite a bit. So just keep that in mind. It's not gonna be too many. And now we're gonna let these noodles saute just for, I'd say, a minute or 2. You absolutely don't wanna overcook these zucchini noodles because they're gonna release a lot of water and they might get too soggy. So I like to cook them just until al dente, and then we're gonna add the sour cream. So guys, I just realized something. I had 2 cloves of garlic and they were hiding behind this piece of paper, and so I didn't see them. I should have sauteed them in the pan after I cooked the chicken, but before I added the noodles, so I am very quickly going to mince this garlic and drop it in the pan. And I just want you to know, I make mistakes all the time, and so if you make mistakes, please don't ever feel bad about it because I'm just a constant mistake factory when I'm cooking, and that's okay. We're just gonna toss the garlic into these zucchini noodles and just let this saute for a couple more minutes, but not too long, just until we can start smelling the garlic. All right, so now we can really smell the garlic. I'm glad we snuck that in there because it really does help with the flavor and makes it even better. So now what we're gonna do is to add our sour cream. That's 1/3 cup. I'm also going to turn down the heat to about as low as I can because all we wanna do at this point is just let the sour cream melt and just kind of like infuse its flavor into the zucchini noodles. All right guys, as you can see, the flavors have really come together nicely. Let me show you how it looks. All right guys, let me show you how I plate this dish. So first grab some zucchini noodles. Look how long they are. You might have to cut them. Here, okay, here's a kind of a funny trick that I do sometimes. If you grab them and notice that they're really long, just take some kitchen scissors, cut them right off. Go. And then we're gonna grab a couple of these chicken pieces, put it right on top. And then I love to finish this dish with a little bit of red chili flakes. This just gives it a little bit of kick, and there we go. This chicken Alfredo with zucchini noodles looks so incredibly delicious. I cannot wait to give it a try. But before I do, if you love this recipe and you wanna see more just like it, check out my healthy recipes playlist. Okay, let's see how we did. I absolutely love this healthier version of chicken Alfredo. There are so much great flavors coming through from the spiced chicken all the way through to the zucchini noodles with a little bit of that sour cream. I know you guys are gonna love this recipe. I hope you give it a try. I'll see you in the next video.